Hi, I'm Marc Becker from Summit International Flooring, and welcome back to a new episode of Summit Live. It's a new year. We have exciting things in store, and today is the first one of those exciting new shows. Everyone remembers Alan Smith. Alan is our market development manager. He had worked in the New York territory, then got into many other hats here at Summit International Flooring. And you, as you know, because you've been watching our show, he's been part of Summit Live as well.
I'm wearing hats because they give me hats to wear.
So today we're going to have a special guest for you. Her name is Pamela Durkin of Pamela Durkin Designs. We're going to bring her in now.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm here.
There we go.
I think.
Yep.
Did you?
So technical issues are always one. We're flooring people who have learned to operate cameras, but obviously not all that well. Anyway, Pam, thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you here with us in the studio.
Thank you. And I do want to clarify, if I was a Dunkin' of Dunkin' Donuts, I probably would not be on the show. I'd be on the beach somewhere. So it's Durkin.
Durkin.
Yeah, I do apologize for that.
That's okay.
I guess I got food on my mind.
Coffee.
Well, that would be nice. Maybe that would have helped. But anyway, Pam, thank you for joining us. We are happy to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Today, we're going to talk about, Pam has some interesting experience on how to help other designers to grow their business. And we're going to let her introduce herself. Pam, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now so people will understand where you're coming from.
Sure thing. Actually, I'm originally from New Jersey and have been a designer for about 30 years. Started my career in commercial design and then moved into residential design when I started my own firm about 22 years ago. So after that, I ended up moving to Florida, and I currently live in Naples, which is a pretty nice place to live in terms of high-end interior design. I do residential and commercial design here. And then about a year ago, I started teaching other designers how to run a better business, how to attract better clients, how to get better projects. And that has become a new passion of mine.
Well, I guess my first question would be, you moved into an area that is heavy with residential designers when you moved to Naples. So you kind of had to restart a business, finding new clientele. How did you find that transition, and how did you make that work?
The transition, it's always interesting when you sort of reinvent yourself or move. And so you're starting over, right? And that does present a huge challenge. And so one of the first things I did was actually get really involved with designer organizations here in Florida, and then also builder organizations. And that really helped build my network up, which was, in my opinion, that's really the way to go, is to work on those networking relationships, because those can really garner multiple quality leads your way.
Yeah, that makes me think about, what we've been through over the past couple of years and the lack of interaction. So how important do you think it is, especially coming out of this era, to get out there and for designers to go out there and meet other people in person, sign up for organizations, become a board member, whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hugely important. I don't think anything's ever going to take the place of that in-person interaction. But as we've seen, the advent of video and some other modes of staying in touch with people kind of come to the forefront, and designers and vendors being much more comfortable with that. I feel like that we also can still have quality connections without seeing each other in person. Of course, I think that's the best way, because to me, that's we are in a business that people do business with people, and being in person is it's just a different energy for sure. But there are other ways that you can keep in touch by doing video calls like that, but like what we're doing, doing podcasts, doing interviews, having a newsletter, keeping in regular touch with people, and then the quality of those connections. So I think the world has opened us up to new ways of keeping in touch with people.
Well, I was just saying before the show started, I'm in flooring my whole life. Never thought I'd ever learn anything about how to set up a camera or a studio or run AV equipment. So we all do learn new things. I'd like to just back to what I was starting to ask. So now you're networking, you're doing your projects while you're networking, and I can only assume you're busy because they only give you 25 hours a day to get that done. How do you decide, now I'm going to start teaching others? How do you even make that decision, and how do you start managing your time to implement so many different, to run your business and help others? It almost seems like they're both two full-time jobs.
They are two full-time jobs. But I think, well, first of all, I never wanted or never thought I would coach other people. That thought never occurred to me. I just happened to be in a mastermind group, which was a group of business owners that came together all across the country 3 times a year, talked about problems in business. And when when somebody would get up and talk about an issue that they were having in business, I always felt compelled to offer my 2 cents. I was the only creative in the room. These were people who ran businesses like restaurants. There was an auto, sort of like an AutoNation type of person in there, $100 million business, and then little old me and 39 other business owners. And I always felt compelled to give my 2 cents, and people kept coming up to me and asking me, do you want to coach? And I said, no. I didn't even know what they were I was like, why do I want to do that? And I think they just brought to light something that I never really saw necessarily, because it's a part of me. And I think we all have these gifts that are harder for us to see because they come easy. And so it's always nice when people point out things that you might not notice in yourself, because your gift, whatever that is, should be amplified. And that's why people are drawn to you in general. So that comes from, even from a marketing standpoint, is to know what you're really good at and what your gift is. And then people are naturally attracted to you. So that's kind of how the coaching thing came about. And, when I talk to professionals, and maybe they're getting ready to up their game in terms of the type of project they want to start taking on. They want to take bigger projects or more involved projects, or maybe get to a more affluent clientele. Just like anything else, you don't start and stop cold turkey, right? You have to blend in the new ideas with what's working. So that is where I'm in my own career, where I'm blending design projects and coaching work. And so for anybody that's out there that's looking to change the type of projects they're going to take on, of course, it's not like you're going to turn the tap off on those projects one day and just, try to get new projects in more of what you're looking to move into, but you're going to be doing a blended approach. And so that's how I handle managing all the things that I'm doing. And I also am a big fan of time blocking, so I work on that too.
It's nice when every day is different. And I'm sure you're not having the same day twice.
This is true. I have, and also become just like you two have become technologically oriented when you never thought that you would. I have become, a really good writer, because I'm writing content and just all kinds of writing, and also just being really comfortable on camera. But in this day and age, with the advent of social media and video becoming more prevalent, I think designers and manufacturers like yourself should be in front of the camera more, because we want to see you. We want to know who we're doing business with. And so I think that's a great connector as well.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we were talking in a meeting we were in just before we started out today about some of the things that we do in the way of reels, and you have so many different social media platforms now. And Melissa, who is our brand manager, who's actually working the board for us today, she's behind the cameras. She said to us, there's sales and there's brand building. And now we do some fun little things that people can get to see us and get to know us that are more brand building than selling. It's not even necessarily product. It might be following a TikTok trend and doing some dance or little skit just to be fun and let people enjoy some time with us. So your point is well taken here.
Absolutely. I think that people want to see your personality for sure.
Yeah. When you're, I just want to go back really quickly. When you're coaching, you kind of answered what the question that I had in mind a little bit, that you kind of help designers or architects or whoever it may be bring out the best qualities they have in themselves. But I'm wondering, of all those different people coming from, different disciplines, do you see common questions arise between all these different people, like a common denominators of curiosity or inquiry?
Or along with that, you talk about building nuggets, finding the nuggets. Are you taking, are you hearing the same questions from everyone, like Alan's wondering, or are you meeting that person and taking their traits and helping them expand their individual traits? From what direction do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally have several different offerings. One is a course on, magnetic marketing and how to attract that special client. And then the other side of that is one-on-one coaching. But I think the biggest common denominator that I see people struggle with is, well, one is boundaries, meaning, and also just thoughtfulness on like, what kind of work do I want to be doing? And what kind of people do I want to be working with? And no one really, I think we're in the process, everyone's in the process of reacting and doing as opposed to planning and thinking. And so if you get a phone call and you're talking to a potential client on the phone, you're going to be making decisions in the moment. And some of those decisions may not be the best decisions because maybe you're thinking like, wow, I really could use the money right now, as opposed to, is this really a job that I want to do? Or is this going to get me to the next level of business that I want to do? So I always ask people to think about, kind of what do they love to do and what's their most profitable service? And then what are the traits of some of their very, very best clients? And from there, I want them to create what I call a client avatar, which is who are these people? What kind of work are they doing? But also what's their personality like? Are they quick decision makers? Do they like to have multiple options? Like, where are they coming from? And when you think about what type of business that you want, and then where your gifts lie, because that's also, we think that we need to take on every project because it comes our way. And I think that you get to choose as a business owner. I mean, why do you go into business if you can't decide what your life's going to look like, what kind of business you're going to take on? So I like people to spend a little time thinking about what kind of work that they ultimately want to be doing, who do they want to be doing business with, and then how does that naturally meld into their personality or the type of life that they're looking to build. Because to your point, we can't work 25 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have to have a life too. And that's why most people go into their own business, is to
I feel like there's a TED Talk coming on.
Well,
I mean, it's nice to have, I mean, isn't it kind of empowering to think, wow.
I think what you're saying is you want people to, you're really teaching people how to be happy in their lives and get their work done.
It's much bigger.
It's interesting. I would have thought, well, I need the money. I'm doing that job. If a great job or a lucrative job came in front of me and I'm a fairly young and budding designer, I would jump on it in 2 seconds. But I think you're right. If you don't have a future plan, you might be going off in a different direction for a one-off this, one-off that, and then where's your business when that project's over? So it's interesting that you're teaching lifestyle as much as you're teaching how to grow a business. You're not saying go out there and join groups just for the sake of networking. You're saying go out there and join groups and hear the kind of things the kind of conversations you want to lean towards, so you can find your place as opposed to just getting a job.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
You illustrated that being content is almost, for most people, I think, inseparable from the work that they do. And as Marc was saying, we hear all the time, surround yourself with friends and family that are uplifting, that have shared interests, that help push you and all that. But I guess what you're saying too is be proactive and go out there and put yourself, in those places and around those people that can help you find your vision, I guess, for yourself and your goal-oriented career goals. But I am really curious about your own design work too. So we have some images here. Could you please, talk to us a little bit about, what we're seeing and what your approach is right now?
Yeah, so a few years ago, I actually made a very conscious decision that I was only going to work on projects that are kind of in my wheelhouse, which means things that have cleaner lines, that are more on the contemporary side, because I realized that when I do projects or when I was taking on projects that were either more traditional or more coastal in nature, I was not in a good place to really service that client as well as I would want to. So, we kind of call it our zone of genius, is when you feel sort of lit up and on fire. And I think that also comes back to the type of projects you take on, is to remember that when you take on projects that are, in the vein of where you want to go or excite you or really light you up, you will be doing your absolute best work. You will be giving the highest level of customer service because you love your clients and you just want them to be happy. And it's not that we don't want every client to be happy, but when we take on projects because maybe we need the money or, we feel like we should, then we, afterwards that high goes away, right? And reality sets in and we're not happy about it. We feel like maybe we aren't getting paid enough, or it's not the type of work that we want to do. And it does affect our performance later on. So I definitely want people to think about the residual effects of taking on projects that aren't really what they want to do. Now, granted, I'm never going to tell somebody that if you need to put food on the table and there's a project in front of you and you need to take the project.
Right.
However, I want people to be, to know what they're doing when they're doing it. So that's really the crux to that. But my work all tends to be pretty clean lined in how it's executed. And I find that that's where I do my best work, and I can get that work done faster because it's very natural to me. So that's the other thing. Time and money and profitability are all tied together. So when you start a project that you've never done before, or that you have to research because you're doing an area that you're just super new at, like if, for instance, if you're doing an outdoor kitchen for the first time and you have to research all this new information so that you're doing the appropriate materials or whatever, all of that takes time. And so when you start to stay in the type of work that you're really good at, that you have a lot of experience in, or that you want to continue to grow in, that all rolls up to essentially more profit because you can get it done faster.
Yeah, you make a really good point. You were saying that you're comfortable in the clean line and that design of approach for you. And because you're comfortable with it, because that's what you enjoy, you're faster in the process. So what about designers who are approached by a client and they're asking them to do something that is not their style at all? Is it always good to go outside of your comfort zone, or is there a time where you have to say, you know what, I shouldn't take this project, or where's that boundary?
I mean, only that individual designer, I think, can fully answer that question, because if they want to be versed in, say, another style and they just haven't had that opportunity to work in that, then, sure, absolutely.
And
For
if it's
me,
not their thrust, or they're not looking to be versed in that, then you're saying don't take the time because you're going to have to invest so much to learn into an area that you're not going to want to go down later. So what
yeah,
I'm
that's what
hearing
I'm
is
saying.
if
Turn
somebody
the job down.
if somebody's starting, if they're young in their business, they're not
Yeah.
20 years experienced, they're 2 years experienced.
Yeah.
And every day is putting out fires, and every day is a rush, and every day is a hustle, and they're burning out after just 2 years. They should reach out to someone like yourself and learn how to find their niche and find their focus and find a way to be happy. You wrote a book on these things. We don't have a copy here, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about your book so people can learn if they want to go out there and get a copy of that.
Absolutely. I think that, so the book is called Elevate. I wrote it back in 2019, and it was really about the certain areas that I thought in business that people should be paying attention to when they're building a business and then also expanding a business. Most designers that I work with actually have been in business 15 years, and either they have then subsequently just gone on their own, or have gotten stuck at a plateau and they feel like something needs to change. But I encourage young designers to talk to people that have lots of experience, because then you get the chance to leapfrog. And leapfrogging is really, why not, take the 15 years experience or 30 years experience that someone else has, learn what they've learned, and then help you move along your path that much faster. So in the book, I talk about some of the shiny object syndrome items that have come along my way in my career and what derailed me from ultimately where I am now. We've all kind of fallen in love with the idea of maybe designing a product or whatever, some kind of cool opportunity comes along and we get excited about it, and then it really derails us from our purpose. So I talk about that a little bit in the book. So I do talk about things that happened to me that kind of took me away from my main focus, and then also talk about why you need to be a good marketer, why you need to be a good storyteller, why you need to understand who your perfect future client is and how to craft that, why time is so important for you to look at, and why you can't be running 24/7, 7 days a week. If you want to build a business, if you want to have a purpose to your business, you need to actually step back and take a breath and decide what you want. You can't just be reacting all the time to all the things that are coming at you, but you need to have some quiet moments to really craft what it is that you want in your business and where you want it to go, so that you're making those decisions from a place of thoughtfulness, as opposed to being stressed and harried and reactive and all that. So,
Well, you've definitely figured it out. I think people who have skills in the design aspect of life, but haven't quite figured out how to build their brand, how to build their business, even if they're not owning their own business, but their goal is to move up within the corporation or the firm where they work. I think they could benefit from hearing your experience, and I think they should read your book. I think they should go to your website and contact you, because I think everything you said here today makes an awful lot of sense. So when people are sitting in Dunkin' Donuts having their coffee and getting the free Wi-Fi, they should go to Pamela Durkin Design and reach out to Pam. She's got great insight. She's diversified. She's built her business twice, once in Jersey, once in Florida, and she knows how to get it done. She's walked that talk and proven it. So for anybody who wants to learn more, Pamela Durkin Designs, go check her out. You can hire her for your projects, or you can work with her to better your business and to grow yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of serendipitous to actually mix those names up, Durkin and Duncan, because now every time you
everyone will know.
You're going to think about Pamela Durkin. Pam, thanks so much. We really appreciate the time that you've given us today and the insight.
Thank you so much.
We
It was a
respect
great
your
time
work
here.
and what you've done.
Thank you.
So we appreciate that. We're going to close out this episode of Summit Live, and there will be plenty more throughout 2022.
Yes.